You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Chris Marchese, mining analyst for the Morgan Report, which you can find online at silver-investor.com. Welcome to the show, Chris.
Great to be back, Jim.
And hello to everybody now listening to us on YouTube. Brand new for us here at HowStreet.com radio. Chris, the U.S. announced its unemployment rate recently and said, wow, it's below 6% for the first time in years. However, Chris, there's still quite a downside. Maybe explain to us.
Like most people know that pay attention to it, the official headline unemployment rate has been declining. But what most don't factor in is the labor participation rate, as in meaning those that are in the workforce. Once they're unemployed for, their benefits run out, they're no longer counted. So it's dividing a smaller portion by a portion that has shrank even more. So it looks rosy, but I don't think we've been at these levels since the mid-70s. I might be off a couple of years, but, that's more or less in the ballpark.
The number I've seen is 62.7% of the people who want to find a job are actually looking for one, which means roughly 38% of the people who like work are not getting it. Yet the unemployment rate is only 5.8%. Why the disparity between the numbers? People are just giving up.
Yeah, and we've talked about this in the past. It's the qualitative aspect. People are forced to take part-time as well, or jobs they're overqualified for, and those you can't quantify those types of things.
Well, I did see a quantity on it that U.S. real income is down 23% from what it was before the last recession hit.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I think it was between 3 and 5 weeks ago, the 2013 real median household income numbers were released. And it hasn't been that low since like 1995, which, goes in the face of everything we've experienced, with the technological revolution, of the internet and all the associated technologies that came with that. So that's basically been wiped out through fiscal and monetary malfeasance by the government and the Federal Reserve.
Yeah, you said there was an interesting survey about the Federal Reserve.
Yeah, apparently only one in 6 Americans think Alan Greenspan is still the Fed chairman. My guess is 5 out of the 6 didn't even know what a Fed chairman was, so maybe that's 100%. But yeah, it's pretty shocking. Another 45%, another 3 or 4 think it's Ben Bernanke still, and the rest think it's Janet Yellen.
And now the European, I should say, it's the International Monetary Fund, has downgraded its projection for world growth once again.
Yeah, I think that's 5 or 6 years going now. And I expect it to get downgraded one more time, probably first quarter next year. They had it at 4% originally, and they just lowered it to 3.8%.
And of course, a lot of this expected growth is supposed to take place in China. But China just introduced an $81 billion stimulus program. That doesn't sound like a country that believes it's going to be growing like crazy anytime soon.
No, I mean, and a lot of economic data points have shown that China's been slowing. Although that's healthy, it's been growing at abnormally high rates for a long time now. But they do have they're continue with their kind of one-sided economy. It's all production, no consumption. It really needs to be a more balanced economy in terms of consumption accounting for more of their gross domestic product.
Well, if they had an $81 billion stimulus package, that works out to roughly $1 per, or, $81 per person there. And with their low wages, maybe $81 put in the hands of consumers would make a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, they save so much that if they just increased their discretionary spending a little bit, it has a profound impact given the population there.
Well, what about the stuff they haul out of the ground? How are metals doing right now?
They're doing just terribly. Although, that's a good thing in a way. The precious metals specifically almost, I'll talk about gold and silver more. Those are well below the cost of production, and notably silver, because as you know, the majority of silver is still mined in Mexico, and they put on that egregious mining royalty tax, which, I mean, there's so many parts to it. It basically raises the statutory tax rate to an effective 44-45%. And so even the low-cost producers there are producing in the high 16s and low $17 an ounce. And these are the lowest cost primary silver producers. And I wouldn't expect that the base metal miners would be doing all that much better unless, they're from lead and zinc, because those prices have held in relatively well in comparison with copper, which I think is around $3.05 a pound right now.
Chris, I remember doing a show with you quite some time ago when you said maybe it was a good time to invest in zinc because 3 of the world's biggest mines were going to close and no new large deposits of zinc had been discovered.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up, because zinc is, I would have to double check, but it's definitely been one of the best performing commodities over the last 2 months, which has seen the whole commodity complex as a whole come down quite a bit.
And what about our pal palladium? Still popular?
It's come back to the earth. It's, I think, trading around $775. Don't quote me on that. It was up. It did trade over 900 earlier, but when we began talking about it, I think it was around 700. So, if for those people that got in early, it was a good time to take profits, and now it's good as time as ever to add your positions back, because I mean all the strikes in South Africa and just the cost of production for the palladium and platinum are really high, which has a lot to do with the wage demands in South Africa, which I know 42% of the palladium in the world comes from there, and I think even more of platinum comes from South Africa. So.
And the other major source for those metals, I believe, is Russia. And with all the sanctions against Russia, who's going to be snapping it up there?
Yeah, and Russia has a history of hoarding some of their palladium output. So, I mean, what's to stop them from, not doing that to a much higher degree, except that they are close with China, and as we've talked about in the past, China recently passed pollution controls, which will be phased in, and that'll require the use of catalytic converters. So I think Russia has their hands are tied a little bit with that. They don't want to upset China. Yes,
I just saw a story where Vladimir Putin, the premier, and a lot of people call him dictator of Russia, is super popular in China. They did a survey there, and it's something like 92% approval for Putin.
Oh, wow. I mean, which makes sense because he's playing nice with the Chinese.
Well, everybody tries to. But, of course, they've just announced, too, the construction of the world's most expensive pipeline ever between Russia and China. So everybody in North America who is hoping to sell to China, you better get your ducks in a row, because Russia definitely is going to be pouring the petroleum on China.
Yeah, we're in the midst of the shift of the economic power from west to east. No one really talks about that a whole lot, but, it's happening right in front of our faces. And, this isn't something that'll happen over a short period of time or even a few years, but a decade from now, I expect the landscape to be, totally unrecognizable from what it is now.
Chris, thanks a lot for chatting with us.
My pleasure.
My guest has been Chris Marchese, mining analyst for the Morgan Report, which you can find online at silver-investor.com. You're listening to HowStreet.com radio. Find us on Twitter at Talk Digital Net. You can also find us on YouTube. You can forward comments to info@HowStreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.